defenders have been given. Like,
hope everyone's enjoying the UK weather. I've got Unks, I've got Lee Judges back in the building. How you doing, man? It's been a minute, Unks.
How we doing, my man? Like, yeah, been a while, hasn't it? Like, you know, so good to see you, my man. Like, I see you dressed for it, the summer, like, you know.
I'm dying, man. If I could do it with no top, I would. I'm dying in this heat, man. I'm uncomfortable, but we'll bear it, especially when we got a special guest like you, and it's lovely that you're smiling. It's been a minute, yeah, and the first thing I want to ask you is, obviously, we won the Premier League. How you feeling? Take me through everything, man. We deserve it.
Yeah. Which, do you know what? I'm just enjoying it. I see a few people getting a little bit frustrated about transfers and all that. I don't care. We won the league. Just enjoy it. Like, you know what I mean? What will be, will be, you know. Listen, if you can't trust this board and this manager now after winning the league, you're never going to. So I look at it and go, look, they know what they're doing. They've proved that over the last few years. So I'm just sort of backing them to do whatever they got to do, like, you know. And I know that they will, but I'm enjoying life, you know what I mean? Premier League champions, you know. I'm going to be really honest. I didn't think there was a stage when I didn't think that was ever, I would ever say that again. And I mean that. I really do. You know? Now, when Man City were doing what they were doing, Chelsea with what, you know, what was going on there, we was a million miles off of these teams. We was actually going into a season hoping, like, you know, maybe for a top four, like, you know, finish, you know, never ever really dreaming of like winning the title or going
back there again.
Yeah, but we're back there, you know. Last few years we've, you know, okay, we ain't got over the line, but we've been in the dreams become a reality, and that reality was seen on that day, that lovely Tuesday night, you know, when Bournemouth and Man City drew. I'm not gonna lie, that night celebrated that more out of relief than enjoyment. But after that, I've really just enjoyed it, you know, and you know, all the fans now, like, they're going on about Europe and whatever, like, because they can't say anything, you know. I mean, you're just getting back, you know, Premier League champions, and I'll be honest, that's what I wanted. I wanted to be, you know, I mean, like, next season, that's a different thing. I'll perhaps be a little bit more.
We needed that monkey off our back, man.
Yeah. I think next season I'll be more for that. But for this time and this moment in time, it was always about the Premier League for me. And I don't know about you, but I don't know people in the chat, but I actually used the Champions League games as less pressure games to enjoy. I didn't feel the pressure so much on those Champions League games. Every league game I was panicking, and
there was anxiety. Like, are we going to do it? Are we not? We're doing the maps around City. Yeah, you're right.
Just doing it, like, but when it comes to the Champions League, I've said, oh no, do you know what? Whatever happens here, what happened, and just enjoy it. And even in the final, you know, I was disappointed, of course, but it weren't the end of the world. And certainly getting back for the parade from Budapest the next day, and to see I look back at that parade, and I'm going to be really honest with you. My mate Paul was over from Australia, and you know, no sleep. You know, we'd lost. I thought, if he wasn't over here, I probably wouldn't have gone to the parade. But thank God I did.
Thank God you did, yeah.
Thank God I did, because it was just a magnificent occasion, like, you know what I mean, and seeing loads of all the fans there, and I just had a little 10-minute walk, just walking, you know, people watching, you know, families, and, you know, Arsenal, and that's what it means, and, you know, that's what it's meant over this sort of time. It's not just about myself; it's about us all.
All of us.
All of us, you know, a massive Arsenal family, and we've all wanted the same thing. We've all gone about it different ways. Supported the club differently, criticised people that are too positive, criticised people that are too negative, criticised people that sit on the fence.
A lot of civil wars.
little digs at each other. But ultimately, it was because we wanted to win the league. And once we've got there and done that now, I don't know about you, but you're a lot younger than me, but my feelings have changed a little bit now since we won it. Like, I feel like, you know, pass the baton over to other people to go as much. I probably won't go. I don't know.
Nah, Lee, don't say that, man. Nah, man, we finally got to the big time. You got to be there, man. You've been
Yeah,
there.
I probably will, but it's not where you can't miss a game or whatever. I just feel that a lot it took a lot out of me the last few years.
Yeah,
Really invested in it. All the time, you know what I mean? Like, not just through the working side of it, like mentally, physically, you know what I mean? Wanting
emotionally, you're an Arsenal
yeah,
fan. You love
emotionally,
you
that's
love
a great word. Emotionally, just being there, and all of a sudden now, like, I feel like it's been worth it. Don't get me wrong, but like maybe just take a little. I don't know. I'll see how I feel like, but I love going. But yeah, it is the summer. That's true. You know what I mean. So I have to see how I feel. But obviously, I'll be going at home. A lot. I won't miss a home game. I don't think. But like, I might skip a few away games. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Like, you know what I mean.
You say that now, Lee, man. When the season started, you've got the drug and you're infected by it. You love
that is so true. It does get to you. It does get to you. I don't know about you, but I'm one of these guys. When the summer comes along, I don't miss it. I actually want to enjoy other things and everything like that.
100%.
I know there are people, and nothing wrong with that. Looking forward to the season, week in, day out, and all that. But yeah, I think like the Champions League, I think like I'll be very much into that. I want to go every game that I want to see us win that now. Like, you know what I mean? And at half time in Budapest, I turned around to my mate and I said,
"So close, man.
I think we're going to do it. I think this is it." But when it went to penalties, I didn't think we was. Stonewall penalty on Madueke. Like, that's the thing about when people go, "Oh, you never seen the Champions League," because you see a lot, not corruption, just poor refereeing decisions can change things down.
100%.
But listen, I think it's great. I've got 2 grounds I'm definitely going to go to next season. Liverpool, because
that's a good one.
And I'll tell you why, is that when they beat us 1-0, my God, they give it to us large out there, like, you know what I mean? Thinking that the title was already done and everything there. So I just like to go up there and remind them that we're champions.
That we're holders.
And definitely Man City, like after the abuse and stick we took last season, just had to take it. But I think I'm going to get the 3rd kit, the yellow kit. I'm going to get that, and I'm going to get champions.
You deserve it, man. Like,
I'm going to get champions on the back of that. I'm going to put something like champions on the back. I'm going to put something like that on it.
Look how long it's been before we could even have conversations like that. It felt like what you kind of said earlier. It did feel like a pipe dream that we could win the Premier again. Now, under Arteta, we've been so close, but ultimately too far. I feel like what you said, like when we've got over the line, initially I felt more relief. I had a tear, like we've been through so much just to get it, as you've alluded to, whether it's been the parade, whether it was the Tuesday, whether it was the when we won the league. I think we all went to the Emirates on the Tuesday or that Sunday just to see the fans of all different colors and makeups and families and young and old. And as you said, whether you're mad negative, mad positive, we finally got over the line. And the season that's just gone for me, Lee, it was a case of that. I felt we needed to do that. And I'm happy that we're not having conversations about does the manager need to go? Where do we turn from here? Yada, yada, yada. We needed to do it. And I do feel, and I'd love to know your thoughts on this. I have felt that obviously under Arteta, we've got so close, but so far. But we had a 20+ year drought in it. I did feel when we got that first one, like what we've just done, the floodgates might start opening. There'll be that relief. Like, do you share that thought, or is it too early to predict that? Because I think we're retaining it, honestly.
Yeah, I do. I think that the one thing that I think that is going in our favour now is that I think we've done that under immense pressure last season. I don't think we realised how much pressure the manager was under and the players were under to get that over the line. Like, I think that I think now is gone. I think there'll be a little bit more freedom in their play, freedom in everything there, and freedom in the fans as well, because we felt it, like,
100%.
Listen, the greatest part, you've got a great job what you do with on TalkSport, and I've got a great job what I do. When you have a bad result or lose, the one thing is we have to go and front it. You know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you have to go out and front it. Like, if other times, if you was you can just go, do you know what? I'm going to have a day indoors and whatever. Like, we have to go.
You can't run.
So you've felt the pressure from other fans, you know,
Especially April.
So Abby and all that, like, you know what I mean?
Oh man, don't get me started, Lee.
Absolute no right to have a go at you, but they do, and they get under your skin. You know what I mean? So
they have their pitchforks ready.
Yeah, they're ready. Like, you know what I mean? So we've had that pressure. The players have had that pressure. It's been taken away now. Like, you know what I mean? And of course, they'll come back with you next season. I mean, you got to retain it now, haven't you? Or you got to go and win the championship. Concentrate on what you do, and we're concentrating.
They don't focus on their own clubs because they're not. They don't.
They don't. So it's up to us now to just make the right signings, which I think that they will. I think we've got to be a little bit patient on the signings that we make. You know, I think that the signings that we are going to make are not going to be straightforward and easy. That's why they take time. Things are going on behind the scenes that none of us know, but they will be done. And listen, the players that we're going to be taking from other clubs are going to be probably the best players from those clubs. So they're not going to be giving them to us on a plate. They're going to have to negotiate, and we're going to have to do what we got to do. So I think the thing is to be patient and see what happens, and just enjoy being Premier League champions. And I do think that the one thing I do think that is in our favour is that pressure's off. You know, being like the release valve has been taken off, and we can now, I think, relax and enjoy it. Breathe and enjoy it. And I think that this next season, enjoy it. Like, you know, try and retain it, but then just, you know, like semi-final, final, fight. Get to the final and win it again, like would be brilliant. And I think that's what we need to do, like, you know.
What do you think we're missing when it comes to the Champions League? Because when I saw it, I think we've got a competitive team, we've got tactics, we've got all that kind of stuff. Obviously, we've earned the right to get to the final. In for a few years prior to that, we've done quite well. But when I was watching the Champions League final, I think we dominated for large parts. But, you know, Mascara, for example, he kept Kvaratskhelia very quiet, but it took one moment, you know, the wrong side of him, a penalty. I guess what I'm saying is, I think for me and the champs to have total confidence, I need my players fit and firing, the Sakas of this world. But I think we need those players with that sparkle, that X factor, that individual brilliance. Like, where do you stand on that? Because I obviously, if we don't win, I look stupid, but I can convincingly say, maybe blind optimism, I think we win the Premier League again. The Champions League, once you get to the semi-finals, I start getting a bit pessimistic.
Yeah, I think you know, you know, you do need a little bit of luck in the Champions League, which has been said there in the comments. I do think that you need that. I think if you go through the whole of the Champions League, look at it. You know, we've won it. The group in the league stage, we was fantastic. Played Bayern Munich, outplayed them. Atletico Madrid, beat them, and then we go to the knockouts. I think if you look at the knockouts and take it individually in those knockouts, we went every game away from home and drew, and then come back and won at home. So that shows you they're very, very mentally switched on and everything like that. Got to the semi-final, I think, played a perfect game over the two legs to beat a very, very different side to what we played in the league stage in Atletico Madrid. But if I really look at it, at the final, I don't think there's any difference between us and two of those other teams. But what I looked with PSG, if you're going to go and win in Europe, you've got to have at least 50% of a game to win that game, you know. So I feel that we need to just improve at that side of our game where we've got players that can be match winners, and that gives you the trust to put your foot on the ball and play a little bit more, like, you know. So I think that's the key areas for me, like, you know, just to I look at our left side. I think, you know, Trossard's been doing brilliantly in the Champions League. I think it just shows you how good our players are when we look at that. Marino yesterday, again, I think he was missed towards the back end of last season. I think people don't realise that what a very, very good squad player he is to come on. And, you know, you imagine in a game like that game in you know, with 20 minutes to go or extra time, bringing him on like he did yesterday.
He's a sort to nick a goal, exactly like you said.
Nick a goal and do things like that, you know. So I know he was available, but wasn't 100% fit, if you know what I'm saying. Like, so I think at the end of the day, like, we're in a position where we're close, just one or two players. It's just take it. Like, I think that we're the best in the Premier League. I don't think there's any doubt of it. And I think that PSG are just that much better than everybody else. So what we've got to do is get level with them. And if we can get level with them, I think that I think luck comes into it, a little bit of this and a little bit. But we've played them 3 times in the last, or 4 times in the last.
Yeah, 4 because the league phase as well.
Just going to the league phase and that. We've lost a couple, lost on penalties, and we won one. So it's small margins, but to get those small margins up, I think we're going to need a few more game changers in our team. And so when we're in that position against them, we're going to go, do you know what? We ain't going to back off here and defend against you. We can defend.
We've got weapons that can harm you as well.
We've got exactly that. We've got people that can harm you, so we're going to go for it as well. And I feel that we're not quite there yet with that. So that's where I think that this transfer window will be very, very interesting if we make the proper signings. But we're not far off. I think that game. Listen, tactically, I thought we got it spot on. I think to limit them to just a penalty at the end of the day.
Can't make an open game against PSG. We would have been shooting ourselves in the foot.
Yeah, we would have liked, but the next time I play PSG, I don't want to be like that. So if we
what you said, I want us to flex our muscles a little bit.
Right, we're taking you on. We've got players that are better than you in certain areas. Because I look at it, I think defensively, nothing between the two teams. I think in midfield, nothing between the two teams. But I think that their attack is slightly...
It's a different kind of level.
Yeah, and that's the level we've got to get to. So that's where we've got to be looking to go from. And I think that we can. I think we need a little bit more pace in the side as well.
100%.
I think that Saka, as good as he is, as we see, a little moment in the World Cup, I think just lost that little bit of pace. Martinelli's got it on that side. But if you're playing, which we did quite a lot last season, Saka and Trossard, it hasn't really got that pace.
They're not really running in behind.
And Gyökeres and Havertz, it hasn't really got that pace. So I think that we're going to need to improve with a little bit more pace down the side now. We're not going to do that on the right-hand side. We've got Madueke that does that. And I think that Madueke, by the way, he's had a decent World Cup. I'm not saying he's been brilliant. I think he's had a decent World Cup, which may be giving him a little bit more confidence to do a little bit better in the Premier League next season. But I think that left-hand side, I don't want to see a like for like. I want to see us, and I know this is very, very hard, but we need to see someone that's above and that sort. I don't know where
what we have. It's the only way we're going to get better. I'm going to tell you, but we need somebody that is just different gravy off that left-hand side. And if I'm honest with you, and I think every Arsenal fan would agree, we've known we've needed this for a while. I know we've won the league and whatever, but we've been talking about left wing forever. Now, granted, it's easy for me as an armchair expert to say do X, Y, Z, but I'm not being funny. Arteta, Berta, that is one of the key priorities. For me, I think we need a centre mid. That's different gravy. I like the Guimarães links. I think we need a left winger. Other than that, I would like a striker. I think it's not really realistic. We probably need another defender. And that's actually something I want to ask you, Lee, because I'm not concerned about next season. I don't want to do the doom and gloom thing before we've kicked the ball. But there is one thing that does concern me. It's the status and the health of the Timbers, the Declan Rice. Every time we watch England, he's nursing some knock. You mentioned Bukayo. Saka's clearly not fit. Saliba and Gabriel, there's rumours around them carrying knocks. That's almost the spine of our team. Now, obviously, if we lose that or they're missing for a significant period of time, I think we're an issue. So I think I don't really subscribe to we need more depth, because I think we need depth, but we probably do need more depth that Arteta trusts. Like if you go and get a Bruno Guimarães, he can play with Declan Rice every day of the week. But if Rice has to be rested or he's carrying a knock, you have that confidence, because I do feel Arteta's system is quite peculiar in it. And I think when you take one piece out of the puzzle out, I think he tries to fix that one piece. He's trying to fix others, and that just has a knock-on effect for us. I'm honest.
Listen, I think that's a great point. And I think that, as you say, with Declan Rice, at this moment in time, listen, we know how good he is. He's been awesome in this tournament as well. And I think that he is struggling in a bit of pain or whatever, and they're having to monitor him, and whatever, So when this tournament ends, whether it ends this week, next week, or whenever it ends for him, he needs to have at least 4 weeks off, where I'm saying, don't go, go and just rest up now.
Relax, man. Put your feet up.
Just relax. So say like if for instance England do get to the final, which is like obviously the 19th, right? So 4 weeks from there, 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth week is the 23rd. So that means before he comes back from his holiday, we've played against Leicester. So then you've got to say, right, he's back now. He can't just walk straight back in. He's got to have some sort of 2 weeks training or whatever. Like, so I don't expect him to see him back till the beginning of September. And of course, then after September, you've got the international break again. So you're going to go 3 or 4 games, probably without Declan Rice, probably without Saka, Eze, and Madueke for that time, unless they go out before. Well, if they was to go out on this weekend, they'll have a week before they come back, like, you know. But I don't want to see them rush back. Do you remember a couple of seasons ago, we played in the Euros final, then 3 weeks later was the Premier League start against Wolves, and they're both in. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I'm not saying like but we need them. You know what I mean? Even against Wolves, we need them to play. If we don't, we win 2-0, and if they don't play, we probably don't win that game. So we need to bring in players where you're going to say to Declan Rice, do you know what? We don't need you today. And like we've done it a few times. I remember Nottingham Forest and you know, like League Cup ties. But I'm talking like, I don't know, let's throw a team out there like Aston Villa at home, or even the Spurs. You know what I mean? Like at home, we don't need you today because we've got Bruno to play, or we've got Miles Lewis-Skelly we're going to play in there. You know, all of those sort of games where it's going to be tough, like, you know. So you're looking at the game against Coventry, start off the season, like you'd probably say, right, okay, we don't need Declan Rice and Saka, but because we've got Bruno in there, or we've got whoever it is that we sign, you know what I mean? And that's the thing that what we need. I don't want to be going to a game and seeing my phone, Declan Rice not seen walking along at the hotel and all that. Oh no, that's it, we're in trouble, like, you know what I mean?
Right now, that's how I feel, Lee.
Yeah, like that could happen, like, you know what I mean? So you feel like, right, okay, let's see what happens. You know, I want to see like somebody coming in, like, right, oh well, he's playing, like, you know. So listen, I don't know what's going to happen with Gabriel Jesus. I think, you know, Kroupi is going to Spurs. I've just seen that comment in there. That listen, Spurs. Actually? I don't know. I think it is is coming to Spurs. Listen, Spurs need to get somebody like that. You know,
need to buy several players, and to be fair, they're doing all right.
Yeah, and they do. And the trouble that we've got with buying players, so like if we're in for Kroupi at the minute, like, you know what I mean? Like, what's the first question he's going to say? Is like, where am I going to play? You know what I mean? Like, he ain't going to have that problem at Spurs or some other teams. You know what I mean? Like, so that's the problem we've got. Even with Bruno at the moment, like, say if it is Bruno, like if I'm Bruno, the first question I'm going to ask is, where am I going to play? You know what I mean? Like, I think they will probably, Mikel will say, alongside Declan Rice. But, you know, you look at that, you've still got Zubimendi in there, you've still got Marino in there, and you've got Miles Lewis-Skelly. So, listen, I think that, you know, you need all of those players. It was great. If I look at someone like Eze never asked that question. He just said, yeah, I back myself.
I want to do this, yeah.
I want to do this. So hopefully these players will do this as well. Like, you know, like maybe Tierney looked at, you know, I've got a better chance of playing at Tottenham than I have Arsenal. I don't know, like, you know what I mean? Like, because that rumours about him coming to Arsenal was 6 months ago, like, you know.
In January, yeah.
But Arsenal, and you know, if you're going to spend out 100 million on a player, like, you know, he's going to have to be playing. You know what I mean? I think that you can't say that he's not. So it'd be really interesting what Arsenal do with that. Like, you know, I mean, I think also we've got to look at long term as well. Players coming in, and I would like to see a Bruno, you know, 28, 29, but then I'd also like to see somebody like Kroupi, not saying Kroupi, or someone of the 21, 22, 23 that's got
they're nowhere near their peak yet. They've got years in the legs.
Yeah. So, like, you know, I'm pretty sure this would be something that they'd be talking about and sorting out. So it'd be, I think it's going to be intriguing, you know what I mean? At the moment, I think Arsenal, with everybody on board, with the World Cup going as it is, I don't think Arsenal would win the league with the players they've got at the moment, because I think we haven't, like it's all right saying like Zubimendi, for instance, hasn't played a minute yet at this moment in time. He's still training, still, he needs a rest, you know what I mean? So at the moment, first game of the season, as it stands, it's probably like Norgard and Miles Lewis-Skelly playing in midfield for a first game. You know what I mean? Could get through.
Could get through. It might not be pretty, but yeah, we might be able. We should be winning that, if I'm being completely honest.
But I don't want to take a gamble on that. Like, you know what I mean? Wanyeri, I think he's going to be a key player for us for the first few games up till September. See what happens.
I hope he's not sold.
Yeah, but I don't think he will be sold until the back end of the window, if it is, because I think we're going to need him for the beginning of the season. So some interesting decisions the manager's got to make and set up. And I don't really listen. When I was back in playing semi-pro, pre-season training starts now. First Tuesday of the month, so you're back in, like, you know what I mean. So I don't know where the players will, when they actually come back, like, you know what I mean. So it'd be interesting to see what happens, like, So I know, like, some of the like championship teams are back now, aren't they? Like, but they're
under 21s are back in training, so we must be a week or two away from our first team players going back in. To be fair.
Yeah, so I'd imagine that within the next few days, maybe in the beginning of the next week, that they'll be back in, like, you know what I mean. So and then the hard work starts then, like, And at this moment in time, without any signings, so that hasn't happened for the last couple of seasons, by the way. You know what I mean? Arsenal have been pretty quick to get the players in that they want.
This time last year, we had Zubimendi through the door, and maybe actually Noni, if I remember correctly.
So I think that, I remember when we was on the tour of Singapore, that's when Gyökeres come in. So, which, you're looking at around about this window of now to in 3 weeks, things are going to happen. But it does seem to me to think that maybe that the players that we're looking at maybe are at the World Cup at this moment in time, like, So it was interesting to see the reports about Wan-Bissaka in going through today. That
what do you make of that as well? Because I felt that was a bit
like for like. I think that I'd be very sad for Ben White to go. Like, I wouldn't want him to go. But Ben White's probably got the question of, am I going to be playing regular or not? Like, but I think if you look at it last season, Ben played quite a lot of games and missed a few games through injury. So that would be an interesting one to see there. But you can't have two players that are not what's the word, like 100% with it. Feel with their body.
Injuries, man. Him and Timber, we don't really know who's going to be there. That's why I want another versatile defender, because I look at our fullbacks. I like what Hincapie's brought. I think he picks up knocks. Calafiori, good player. Again, we know you're going to get injuries. Timber and obviously Benjamin White. I'm a bit nervous at fullback. I think it's a really underrated place when we're talking about transfers with Arsenal fans. Maybe I'm doing doom and gloom, but that's how I feel.
No, I would look at it and still think that, you probably like say that, right, okay, Hincapie or Calafiori will back up the left side central defending. You're probably looking at Mosquera backing up Saliba, and if it could be that it's a little bit more long term. We don't know what's happening with Timber. So if you're going to bring in, we've got to bring in some sort of defender to cover this for the first few. So a Wan-Bissaka would be somebody that I wouldn't be against. I think he's a very, very good defender.
Very strong 1v1.
Yeah, very, very strong. So and can play on the left side as well. So I don't think that's a bad signing to have it, even if Ben White does decide to go. So I think that Arsenal will be looking at the top end of the table for transfers, but there's nothing wrong of looking for some solid players from with Premiership experience to fill the squad as well. And I think that would be a very, very good one, like to have. I think you've got to have players like that are reliable, that can come in and do a job as well. I don't
Key
think
word you said there, reliable. Like, it's very underrated in football, man.
And if you have a look at it all through the times of a football club and you know, Arsenal or any club really, if you look back at it, you know, I go back to the '89 team that won the league. You know, Kevin Richardson wasn't always on the team sheet, the first 11, but when he come in, he done a job and was, you know, fantastic. You look at players in '98, if it wasn't for Ray up front, like, you know what I mean, Arsenal don't win those sort of things, you know what I mean? So you go there.
It's a squad game, age-old saying.
It is, you know, 2002, the players like Edu were, you know, redeemed as squad players, which is unreal. Will Tord, you know what I mean? So Carnu, like, you know, so these guys play a very, very important role. In '98, Stephen Hughes was another guy, if you remember him, that come in and done jobs. Perry Groves back in the day, you know what I mean, like 1-2 titles because he come in and done a job. These guys are very, very important. And that's why the likes of the Marino are very, very important. Those sort of guys, you know, we don't win the league if it wasn't for Mascara last season. Coming in and doing
Everyone
a job,
played their part.
Everybody plays their part. So they're very, very important players as well. Your big boys, of course, are very important. But if you haven't got those players that can come in and it's any football, whether you know, like playing
Sunday League all the way to the elite.
Sunday League, you know what I mean? Let's go on to Sunday League. You look at Sunday League, your best players are there 9 times out of 10, but like when they ain't,
you need someone to step up and do a job. They might not be amazing, but do a job.
They do a job and come in and do a job. And sometimes you have to look at teams that win things if they've got the best bench. You know what I mean? Like, you know, strong bench. We play vets football, like, you know what I mean? I know it's different going off screen a little bit, but, you know, the teams will play their best players and then they bring players on that are not quite good. But if you've got a team that, you know, when you take players off, the players are as good or just as good, standard don't drop, you're going to win games of football, like. And I think that's the same, even in professional level, is that you're taking off a Saka, you're bringing on a Madueke. Not as good, but that's
do a job and chip in, like you just said earlier when you mentioned the World Cup. Like Noni's actually, I know Saka got an assist, and I think everyone knows there's a golfing class with Saka and Noni. But again, as you said, it's a squad game, and you've seen that. You even saw it with the French when they took off Bacola and brought on Doué, and he's won them the penalty, and they've gone through to the next round.
Exactly. Well, France is probably like a great analogy of how to
ridiculous
do it, like,
strength in
there. Like, ridiculous, you know what I mean? Like they've got so many players that they
Turkey can't even buy a game for France.
Well, exactly. You know, Turkey's playing a big part at this moment in time. But when he comes on, look at the quality he's got. Like, you know what I mean? Like the Crystal Palace centre forward hardly played at this moment in time. Like,
another one.
But you know, can come on and do it, and we know how good he can be. Like, you know what I mean? So that's the sort of thing that you need. And I think even with Arsenal last season, I think that people will say, why did they win the league? Because I think the squad was strong. I think if you look back, no disrespect to Eddie, I thought done a fantastic job for us. But when we lost Jesus that time, Eddie had to fill in, and then like Eddie got injured, and then, you know, the season before last, we had no front forwards at all. Do you remember Marino had to go? They'd done a fantastic job. But at the end of the day, you know, you need a squad. This season, when Havertz wasn't available, Gyökeres was available. Like when Gyökeres wasn't available, Havertz was, or Marino. Like, you know, listen, we've had or Jesus, so we've had a very, very strong squad, and you need that. And I think the other thing is with that squad is that when you play like coming into April or May, like we have done when it's been thin, the players are tired, a little bit wary at the end. Like,
that's normally when it gets dark for us and it starts. The to fall off.
So you need that little bit of freshness going into that last couple of months as well. That is where the squad is so important.
And that's why, again, it sounds cliche. And I think we say this year in, year out, and people see it play out. And it's like the season's done. They develop amnesia. We're at that point of the season where everyone that's probably not our back five or Bukayo Saka, everyone wants them to go. But you need depth. We're looking at 50 plus games a season. Rice played close to 60 games before he kicked a ball in the World Cup. So we're going to need that. And I think Lee's bang on the money in that. Obviously, in an ideal world, you'd want better than what you have or on par. But as long as the level collectively doesn't drop, then we can keep it moving. That's where your Marinos, your Kai Havertz is. They've got a part to play across the season. Like, I'm not happy to see Kai Havertz or Mourinho in midfield, but there might be 5 to 10 games across the season in all comps where it's just a needs must kind of thing. We just do that, get out of it, and just keep it kind of moving. Like, we'd be here all day if we were to sit here and think about the players that haven't been injured. And to be fair, a lot of our players, they were probably old injuries, like Wenger used to say, like the red zone. Like, I'm not surprised that Gabriel's had a lengthy layoff, Havertz had a lengthy layoff, Saka's probably been due that. And unfortunately, that's just the rigors of football. I've been burning to ask you this, Lee, because it's on screen, yeah. Who would you love to see come in, Lee, if you could take your pick of who we've been linked to?
Well, listen, I'm a massive, massive fan of Morgan Rogers. I've been since the first time I see him.
I was hoping so.
Listen, there's never that much time I've never done it before. When I watched a game of football, and I see this young kid bossing Thomas Partey and Declan Rice. Do you remember we ended up winning the game with we played in the black. Do you remember the game when Martinelli scores when no one's in, like in the goal? But it was a tough game, and I actually Googled who is this guy? Who's this number that they've got? I can't even remember what number he was playing. Like, you know what I mean? It's 17 for them. I'm not sure. Anyway, looked him up. Morgan Rogers come from Middlesbrough. I thought, blimey, like, you know what I mean? And then I see that he was at Man City when he was younger.
They bought him from West Brom.
West Brom, mate, like, you know, unbelievable. And so I've been a massive fan of his ever since. So he would be someone that I will go. I'm loving the Bruno connection. I'm loving that.
I want that. I'm having that.
If we couldn't get someone like him, I would love to go for someone like Alex Scott at Bournemouth.
Shout.
So someone that's younger, box to box. You know, reminds me a little bit of not as good as Aaron Ramsey, like that sort of young.
I see the school of thought.
So I'd like to see someone like that come in. If not, I would love to see someone like Vicious Junior or someone like that on our left side. I really would like. You know,
I think that's where we're getting to, Lee. We need them kind of players, those level raisers. And it's a weird one. I meant to ask you this as well. It's like the market's a weird one because I'm with you. I was going to say Morgan Rogers. I love him. I've got some more questions, but we'll get onto that with Rogers. I love him. I think he'd be great. I'm sure he would join Arsenal. Arsenal would want him, but it just comes down to Aston Villa and Arsenal agreeing something. A bit like with Bruno Guimarães. It's like, put the money down. So it's like, do we, rightly or wrongly, do we just pay the going rate, or do you find Morgan Rogers before he has that breakout, or Bruno Guimarães before he ends up at Newcastle? Because you look at Alex Scott and Kroupi, they've probably been at Bournemouth 2 minutes and they probably spent peanuts on him. And now if they ever sell them, it's going for a madness. Like, everybody knows everyone knows the players we want. Everyone's got money. And it's just, we're going to sell to the highest bidder. So this is where I'm happy I'm not Arteta or Roberto, because how do you figure this stuff out?
Yeah, you know, I mean, this is it for me. Like, you know, for me, you know, like the one that I would go for, which I don't think we're going to get. There's all the talk. If I was to raid PSG, I'd go and get Doué. Like, that's who I would go and get. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, he's young. He's got a lot more. I would rather go and pay a little bit extra for him than somebody like Barcola. That's me personally. Like, you know,
I'm with you.
Like, so that would be my dream sort of signing, somebody like that, like, you know what I mean, like, and you know, and then if you looked at that, say if you was to get somebody of that ilk, and you're playing Champions League, I don't know, on the Wednesday, and then on the Saturday you got Man City, well, you could say, right, okay, Martinelli plays in the league game and Doué plays in the Champions. The drop off isn't that great, like, you know what I mean, so. That's where we've got to get, like, you know what I mean. So that left side's going to be really key. If I was to really push, you want to really push me, you know, Kylian Mbappe, like, it's too much, it's too out of the way. I'm being like, so we got to go realistic. For me, I would go with like Doué. I think, like, you know, there's links that they're going to be bringing in other players, PSG, like, you know what I mean. So I would go, you know, like, they can't have them all playing and can't
literally. I know they're making a good effort at that, but they can't have all of them. Only 11 players can play out there.
Yeah, so like that would be one that I would maybe look to go, like, you know what I mean.
Because that left-hand side, it's a weird one because obviously, like Martinelli and Trossard, I know Gordon's done well for England, but I feel the same way with Martinelli and Trossard generally as I do with Rashford and obviously Anthony Gordon. It's whichever one hasn't been playing generally in an England shirt, I've been crying for the other one, and you never really quite know what you're getting. With Bacola's, it's a weird one. I like him. I do think there's an element of potential. But I do think Arsenal fans are overrating him. I'm yet to be moved by him in 90 minutes. I'm yet to be impressed with him when it's them tight and congested kind of games. When the game opens up, similar to Martinelli, Bob's your uncle. But if there's 3 actions that result in a goal, he's like Martinelli and Noni in that they'll do 2 of the 3 actions right. And when it gets to the most important thing, putting the ball in the back of the net, I think that's where they kind of struggle. And I'm not really convinced on Bacola for 100 million. But then I'm a hypocrite because, as I said, I'm with you in that I don't really care where Morgan Rogers would play, just get him on the pitch. But I wouldn't describe Morgan Rogers as that out-and-out left winger that I think we potentially need. That skill set is probably more Bacola. So I'm a bit of a hypocrite, Lee.
Yeah, I get that. I see where you're coming here with the Morgan Rogers. I think the thing what makes Morgan Rogers a good signing for Arsenal is that he can play 3 positions. He can play as a wide left, he can play as a 10 or box to box 8. And I think the one good thing about Arteta, whether you're going to give him criticism or not, he will make those play like he's made Declan Rice into a very good 8. Like, you know what I mean? So there could be different things for him to do there. Like, you know. So that's what I like to see. Listen, if you're spending out this money on Bacala, whatever his name is, Bacala, why didn't they go and get Anthony Gordon for 70 million? You know, I don't know if it had been
a player that was credited with interest in as well.
Yeah, like Bacala's a very good player, but like, you know, I look at it and I think that Anthony Gordon is, what would I say, more experienced because of the Premier League, you know what I mean? Like cheaper as well. And someone that I quite like, you know what I mean? But so, you know, listen, I don't know. Arsenal might have spoke to him and he said, no, I want to go Barcelona. I don't know. You don't know these things. This is the thing that is intriguing about these transfers and everything like that. Like, you know, so like, you know, I think on that left-hand side, I don't want somebody that if you're going to, how can I say, the reason we criticise Martinelli, because he's hit and miss at times, if you be really honest, I'm a massive fan of Martinelli. I think
we all are, but
goes under the radar and all that. But there's just like, even in that game for Brazil the other night against Norway, he does some brilliant things and some things that just off the, you know, a little bit hit and miss, like, you know. So I don't want to be bringing in another one of them. It's got to be the real deal, you know. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, so I think that's very, very important.
And that's the thing. It's like Bacola's, I think he's a good player. I'm not trying to shit on him, but it's shiny new toy syndrome. And as Lee said there, we've got Martinelli, Madueke, Bacola. They're all kind of similar, not in terms of ability, in terms of decision making. Like even in the Lord, he didn't, but even in the Champions League final, he should have bagged. These are the kind of things. And I don't know about anyone else, but if he was 19, I'd cut him a bit more slack. When you start getting to 23, 24, and in his case, you're at PSG, you play for your country, I kind of need you to be significantly better. And like you said there, I love Martinelli, but I'm of the belief now, I kind of accept you what you are. I'm not really, I hope, but I'm not expecting the decision making and all the negatives around Martinelli. I'm not expecting that to be ironed out. I've kind of just accepted you, which you're a tool in a toolbox. I think Martinelli has to stay because he's got pace, and I don't know if we get Bacola, and he is a good tool to have in the toolbox. And again, before I forget, Lee, like, what do you make of Trossard leaving? Because it's a mixed review depending on who you speak to within the Arsenal fan base.
Yeah, listen, 31, 32, you know what I mean? It's been fantastic signing for us. But, you know, sometimes you're going to have to move players on, and maybe that you didn't want to or whatever. And I think he's been one of probably our most consistent player out of all the forwards, if I'll be honest, over the season and all that. But I think the one thing that you got to understand now, and as harsh as it is that we're going to lose players that we all like. They're all these players now that we're playing at Arsenal. You know, like a Trossard, you can go Martinelli, you could go even Eze or Zubamendi. Even talk about Gyökeres. You know, I think we've all got an affection for him, either, and so it's going to be difficult to let players go. Ben White, as we've been speaking about earlier on. You don't want any of them to go, really. But if you're going to move it on, you know, click the dial, as they say. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you have to make sacrifices, and it's not the nice ones. And look, Trossard's been wonderful for us. Wonderful for us. I think we realise how good he is when he's not there. You know what I mean? And what he can do. So many
clutch moments.
So, but football is cruel at times. It's you know, and sometimes you have to make these difficult decisions, and that's what managers have to do, or head coaches have to do. And some people don't like doing them. That's why you'll see a lot of players want to be just coaches because they don't want to make those difficult calls. But that's what you have to do, like, you know. And if you go through Arsenal through the years, the managers have had to do that. I remember Paul Merson being let go. I couldn't believe it when we let him go, like, you know what I mean. And then we sold him and brought in Petit and Overmars. You remember that, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's fair to say the rest is history there.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And that was a difficult one, like, you know what I mean? So even so much so with over the last few years, no one can tell me they didn't like Aaron Ramsdale. But Kieran Tierney's another one, yeah, that, you know, I think everybody likes and all that, like fans' favourites that go. Charlie Nicholas back in the day, like, you know, so these decisions do happen, and you don't like to see them happen, but they do. I can go back as far as, you know, like 89, 90 as well, when we let John Lukic go for David Seaman, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, the people didn't like it, and the reason I don't like it is you become fond of these players, you know what I mean? Because they just give you something.
You're emotionally connected.
Of course we are, you know, we're emotionally connected because they've done something for us that we didn't think they was going to do, and that's the big thing now, like, you know. So listen, whoever we lose, you know, we could lose a Martin Odegaard after his, you know, and people have been raving about his World Cup so far and all that, like, you know, and these things can happen, like, you know what I mean. So we're just going to have to, what's the word? Believe in the manager. But look, listen,
you're going to have to trust the process. As cringy as
it is, trust the manager and what he's doing, like, you know what I mean. I remember when George Graham left out Charlie Nicholas. I didn't like George Graham for 88, 1 year. I didn't like George Graham for until he won the title. I thought forgived him after that. But that's how it is, like, you know what I mean?
And that's how football goes. And it's interesting you said Martin Odegaard, apologies, because I always say this on my channel. I was like, if you was to name your strongest 11, if everybody's fit with Arsenal and Mikel Arteta's, they'd probably be similar, but they'd be very different. And what I mean by that is you'd probably see Kai Havertz and Odegaard. And if we're honest with ourselves, to go on to the next level, if they're doing their thing and getting better, great. Is Kai Havertz probably the striker you want leading the line as much as we like him? Probably not. Has Odegaard been cutting the mustard? Probably not. Do you feel like them two in relation to Kai Havertz and Odegaard? You could say Saka, but more them two. Do you think it's put up or shut up? Like, do you think they really need big seasons because they got 2 years left on their deals? They're key members of the side, but they're earning big money. And, you know, as you said, if we hopefully bring in Rodgers and you got Wanyeri and you got Eze, I know we need a squad, but your positions might become obsolete. You might be on a chopping block.
Yeah, well, that's a great point. And the thing is, we've actually said that over the last couple of seasons. If you're relying on Odegaard and you're relying on Havertz, as good as the players they are, you're probably not going to quite win the league. But what we've done over the last year is that they've been very, very important to us, but we've not been relying on them like week in, week out. There have been games when Odegaard's been left out and the same with Havertz. But let me tell you now, like, the end of the season, 2 key moments, West Ham away from home, 0-0 with 25 minutes to go. Who comes on and changed the game completely for us? Martin Odegaard. Who gets the winner in the game against Burnley, which was the goal that basically won us the league? Kai Havertz. So they're very, very important to what we want to do.
Squad players, as we said.
Like a squad player or whatever, like, you know what I mean? So, and I've always said, if you've got Havertz and Martin Odegaard as squad players, then you've got some bloody team. That's how you've got to look at it. And it'd probably be a winning team. And that's what's probably happened, because at the end of the day, listen, we went last season, I think it was last season, not like this season, the season before, we lost Martin Odegaard to injury. with an ankle injury for Norway. We didn't play Wanyeri in there. I think we was playing Marino in there, but it wasn't working. We was desperate for Martin Odegaard to be come back, probably rush back. And, we didn't quite have enough because of that. This time around, Martin Odegaard's missed quite a few games for injury. Oh, that's all right. We can pop Eze in there, and that's been the difference. And, Eze has not been what I would say blown everybody away with what he's done, but moments like at home against Crystal Palace, goal there, Tottenham home and away, he has contributed as well, so it's not just about these guys, it's when they go out who comes in now. So for instance, if Martin Odegaard's not doing the business, and certainly there was sometimes when you could turn around and say that he wasn't last year, all right, okay, we're going to bring in Morgan Rogers to play in there or so-and-so. And you telling me that Jude Bellingham has not been playing better because somebody like Morgan Rogers is in the side,
you mess about, you're on the bench.
So if you're Martin Odegaard or you're Havertz, if you're not playing well, Gyökeres is going to come in or so-and-so is going to come in and whatever. That makes the team better because these players have got to perform as well.
Healthy competition.
Yeah, healthy competition. You don't want to be, and even I would say with Saka at this moment in time, I think Saka could be sitting on the bench even with England and going, I've got to come on and do something here because if I don't, my place is up for grabs. That is what you want in club level as well. And I think we're getting that. And listen, I don't think that sometimes the way we played last season helps the attacking players. If you have a look at Martinelli, seemed a lot more freer playing for Brazil. Martin Odegaard's playing better for Norway at this moment in time. A little bit less pressure for Norway, playing for Norway than Arsenal, if I'll be honest. But, hopefully Mikel will look at it this summer and go, do you know what, right, what can I do to get the best out of my wide players? What can I do to get the best out of Gyökeres and a Havertz? And hopefully, they'll implement that into a tactic that will help all these players out, So, listen, I think that Martin Odegaard gets a lot of disrespect, what I mean? But
he gets praised by a lot of players in the game, but criticised by, I don't know, man. There's healthy criticism and then it's going too far. I just want Odegaard to remind everyone how good he is, if I'm honest, because the talent's there.
Well, let's be honest. We've not had the Martin Odegaard of 2 seasons ago since that.
And that's the problem. Yeah,
that's the problem. You know what I mean? There are times that he's been injured, which is no fault of his own, and there's other times when you're trying to get back to your best because you've lost that little bit of fitness. Now, this could be a magnificent thing for us, is that he's now getting physically fit and strong and playing for Norway.
Like a mini pre-season.
Exactly that. Comes back and is the business on for us, you know what I mean? So this is unbelievable, for us. So, I don't know what's going to happen with an Odegaard. If we got a magnificent deal for Odegaard and we sell him and we bring in a Morgan Rogers, you could look at that and go, well, Martin Odegaard, 26, 27, Morgan Rogers is a little bit younger. I don't know. Again, this is one of those ones where if Odegaard's here next season, I trust the manager. If he's not, I trust the manager as well.
I think they deserve to be trusted, man. And you know what? As much as I'm praising Andrea Berta, the players, the fans, Mikel Arteta, indirectly, I have to praise the Cronkies, because when we won, I know I'm going back to the start of the stream, but when we won the league, the first thing I thought of, or better yet, when there was the parade, I just thought, fucking hell, Josh, you and your dad have come a long way. Because if you told me when it was all the pitchforks, KSC out, Cronky out, which they deserved a lot of that flank here. When I saw that, when I saw them holding the Prem, if you told me back then that would have been the case, I would have said you're smoking something special. So it just shows things can turn around. And like you keep indirectly saying, I do think the club deserve fans to give them trust. I understand you're seeing other people sign people. We're top of the league. We're seeing people sign people during the World Cup. You're getting a bit giddy. I'll always say to fans, not that people are going to listen, but I just think you have to judge the club at the end of the window. But God forbid, if the window comes to an end and we haven't signed everyone, let them have it. Don't judge them at the start, because I remember when Noni came through the door, it didn't look like we was getting Eze. Gyökeres, it was a bit of drama with Sporting Lisbon. And look how the market ended. So I always say they're not idiots. If Lee knows it, I know it, and you lot in the chat know that we've won the league. This player isn't quite cutting it. We need to address this area. What do you think these lot are having? Because we finally got over the line, yeah. And Arteta, the blood, sweat, and tears. Why would you rest on your laurels now. Like, now's not the time. That you're at the pinnacle. It's one thing getting there, it's another thing staying there, and the only way is down. But we're finally getting to the scenario. I wanted to circle back, Lee, over Bruno Guimarães, or not the wrong tab, Bruno Guimarães. How much do you think he's really worth, though, man? Because they're saying anything above 65 million gets you him. Like, where would you stand on that? I'd
65,
do it,
70. I don't care. You know what I mean? If he's the player, if he's the player that Mikel wants, and he's the player that's going to take us to the Champions League and all that, I don't care what it is. I never lost a day's sleep over Declan Rice's £105 million transfer. I'm not like that. You know what I mean? Like, Spurs have just spent like £85 million on a player. They've spent two on Tonali and Fernandes, two players that wouldn't get into our first team. They wouldn't start for Arsenal, like, you know what I mean, like for a cup final and that. So that's what you're dealing with, like, you know what I mean. So for me, whatever, if he's the guy, I don't care. I don't care about the price. As I've said before, like, you know what I mean, like, why should I worry about the price when I've followed Arsenal home and away and give them all my best and everything like over the season? Manager telling me to get there early, do this and do that. For the club to turn around and go, yeah, if you want a picture with a trophy, it's going to cost you £35. So why would I be interested in money? Why would I be interested in how much they got to pay and whatever? Like, I don't care. If like that,
it's facts.
It's facts. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, I spend enough money at Arsenal. I'm not worried about transfer fee. Like, I don't really want to hear Arsenal turn around and say, oh, we're pulling out because we can't afford it or whatever. Like, well, I can't afford to go to the Arsenal every week, so I have to sacrifice things. So you do the same. So whatever it is that, you know what I mean, if that's who they want, then, you know, go out there and get him, like, you know what I mean? Like, and as you say, like, if clubs like Tottenham and Manchester City are prepared to pay over the odds for players, fair enough. At the end of the day, let's get this right. He's Newcastle's best player, right? At the end of the day, they're not going to sell him on the cheap.
And he's the last one through the door that they've let Tonali and Gordon go. Say they're going to play even more of a hardball. Yeah,
it's exactly that. Like, so, like, I'm not whining about anything as saying in the fact. I'm just putting it out there as fact. I don't care. I don't mean whining about prices and everything like that. Like, I get that every business is the same.
This is what the market is now.
Business is business, and Arsenal are very, very good at that. Let's get this right. Arsenal are very, very good at this. They bring out loads of training tops that are fantastic, and you can't help but go and buy them and all that. Like, and listen, Arsenal are successful, so I'll go and buy them, and not just that I buy them. I like them, like, you know what I mean. So I will go and buy them, like, you know what I mean. But at the end of the day, that's my choice. Arsenal have a choice. If they want Bruno, that's the price. Go and pay it. If they don't, that's up to them. It's not what I think and what I don't think at the end of the day. I just want us to be as strong and healthy as we possibly can. I've never, ever worried about, oh, that's a bit too much. We shouldn't be doing that. Like, you know,
if it don't work, just sign another player, and it's not our money.
It's not our money. It's not our money. Like, you know what I mean? It's up to the club to do that.
And that is the thing. Lee, you got a question. Lee, do you think we are unfair to our left? Our right side, Odegaard, Saka, White were designed to combine together, but our left wing was designed to be isolated. Will a superstar change that?
Well, as I said earlier on, you know, that's a tactic that Mikel's got to look at and change, and I think that he will do. Like, I think that it goes under the radar on that left-hand side how very, very good Martinelli is defensively. I think even with the putting him in the Brazilian side where he played him as a sort of left wing of a four, didn't he? Like, but with defensive duties. So I do think that is fair. I don't think it's unfair. It's the way that it is. You know what I mean? Like, the right side is well designed to do that. Also, the left hand side. Don't forget, and I always give a lot of praise for Martinelli on that. Like, there were 2 seasons when you had a left back playing in midfield that would, you know, whether it be Shinchenko or even Miles Lewis-Skelly were going in there, like, you know. So what does that leave? It leaves Gabriel a little bit isolated.
Yeah, you've got to mark the wide half spaces now.
Yeah, so something has to be done. So Martinelli, listen, Martinelli sometimes give up his attacking duties for the duties of the team, and I that don't go amiss on me. You know what I mean?
Especially, I'm definitely not under Arteta. Like the PSG got more world-class players than we can count, but as much as we waffle about how good they are going forward, Luis Enrique demands that you go backwards or you're not playing any games of football.
Yeah, and it's a great comment. Lee, our two wingers need to attack. And we just said that about going forward to the Champions League. We need to do that. So there needs to be an address of maybe like a Bruno in midfield with a Declan Rice where we can control the games and things like that. And then our wide players can push on a little bit more, and we ain't got to worry about them defending. Listen, Saka has defensive duties as well. Let's get that right. He doesn't. Exactly. He's not left out there to just do what he wants to do. Even with England the other night, defensive duties. So you have to do it against certain teams and in certain games away from home because you're not going to have as much of the ball. But what you need is when you do go forward, those guys need to be let off the leash a little bit more. Like, you know what I mean? When I play, it was lovely when a manager come up to you and said, "Look, just do what you got to do in the final third. Don't worry about this so much. Like, get back, but don't
just make sure you do it, and it's all good."
But when you're in that final third, make sure something happens. You know what I mean? So, and that's the pressure that you want.
That's what I want to see, man. Just take the shackles off a tiny bit. I'm not an idiot. There'll be gaps, but I just feel if we could dial it back specifically for our attackers a little bit, we might be ever so slightly more exposed, but they might be able to nick us a bit more goals. I know it's easier said than done, but if there's a world where Saka's in acres of space, there's more rotations, there's tactics that, are better fit for the Ezes and the Sakas and whatnot, and whoever comes through the door. If we can marry that and what we do defensively and the whole ethos, Bob's your uncle. We're fucking laughing. Lee, I've got one more question for you as well before I let you go, yeah? Because this is one I wanted to save till last. Which team is going to be the one to compete with Arsenal next season in the Prem? I'm going City. City/Liverpool, to be fair, but they got a new gap. Well, both.
Yeah, listen. I think you can't write off Liverpool. I think that they're going to be there and thereabouts. I also don't sleep on Man United. I think that they were very, very good last season. Got some good players. I think Spurs are going to be challenging in the
with one game a week as well. They're going to be all right.
Yeah, with European football, with the squad that they've got, a manager that can work on them and all that. Like, I don't think that they will be too far off of it. So yeah, but I think that at the end of the day, City and Arsenal were a cut above everybody last season. I think that Liverpool will push that gap and Manchester United. So if you was to say to me what the top four be, that would be my top four for next season. But I think there's always a surprise team coming up there and doing that there. Aston Villa have done. Newcastle, have pushed and then dropped back, which is, sad for them. Aston Villa is going to be really interested to see what I don't know how Aston Villa can win the Europa League and be in Champions League the season before that, be in Champions League this season as well, and having to sell players. I think that's a little bit unfair. But for them to kick on, they're going to have to do that.
You're going to have to bite the bullet.
Yeah, and Newcastle had to do that a couple of seasons ago with Elliot Anderson, if you remember rightly.
Yeah.
So it's big. I think with Spurs, if they fail this season, then they're in trouble because they've got to get Europe because then it will go. But I think that they'll be there and thereabouts pushing. But I think at this moment in time, if Arsenal get the right signings, I think we'll be fine.
And that's our main thing. It's like we just have to focus on ourselves. We can't control, like you said, who's going to be the dark horses. Who do we feel is going to be in a title race and fall by the wayside? If we just keep doing what we're doing, I always think, like, going back to Sunday League, whenever we used to win a title, you come in for pre-season, the manager would say, I don't give a fuck what happened last year. We're all starting again from zero. And that's the mentality I think the players will have because they finally got over the line. And I mean, Mikel Arteta has shown he'll reinvent himself time after time after time again. And again, for the whole collective club, whether it's Josh or Berto or whatever, you lot finally got all the fans on side. Everything that you lot have been working on, the most laziest of football fans can see what Arsenal are doing. I see no reason why we're going to stop, man. But we'll have to see, man. Right now, let's just stick to the World Cup. Hopefully, we sign players. Lee, it's always a pleasure. Where can people find you, even though your channel is in the title, man?
Yeah, obviously, Lee Judges TV. We're back now doing a little bit, and of course, on all socials, Lee Mark Judges. So check me out there, yep.
Exactly, and Lee's too nice, man. He's one of the best football Arsenal voices. I'm someone I got a lot of time for. His channel is in the title, people. Make sure you're liking, you're commenting, and subscribing. Lee, let you enjoy the sun, man. Thank you once again.
No, I'm just going to go back out and sit in it, like, you know what
I mean? Yeah, go and do that. We're chilling. We're Premier League champions, man. To the chat, peace.
Because always